Hey all. The first unit we're going to be exploring in world literature is the personal values unit. With this, we're going to be exploring a lot of historical pieces of literature that really kind of exemplify some of the values you and I hold today. But in order to really kind of understand those and really make connections, what I want to do is kind of get a little bit of an overview. What does it mean to have personal values? What are personal values? So we can make those self-to-text connections. So first off, what is a value? Well, qualities, characteristics, or ideas about which we feel strongly. So you and I both have these particular characteristics or qualities we look for in particular people that we feel makes an ideal person, or that we find when we meet someone that we can identify with and we want to incorporate them as our friend. Our values affect our decisions, our goals, and our behavior. So every decision you make, goal you make, the way you choose to behave in particular settings also reflects your values. A belief or feeling that someone or something is worthwhile. Whenever time you make a decision, you have to come to that final thought of whether or not you perform that action or you make that decision is worth your while, your personal benefit. Values define what is, and this kind of, the next bullet kind of covers that. Values define what is of worth, what is beneficial, and of course, what is harmful to you. And values are standards to guide your action, judgments, and attitudes. It's basically the litmus test of what we feel can be the right and wrong behavior. So, let's take this for an example. You have been given a check for $1,000, all right, to do whatever you like with it. What would you do with it? Take a moment to think about that. What you spend the money on has everything to do with what you value. What things did you do during this past week also kind of exemplifies what you value. What you choose to do with your time also has everything to do with what you value. So if you choose to spend your time working instead of doing your homework, for instance, it's just a kind of a lame example, it kind of exemplifies that, hey, going to work, earning a paycheck is more of value to you than completing maybe your homework on a timely fashion. All right, so what is a hypocrite? And this is something that everyone, that's a popular saying, no one likes a hypocrite, is one who subscribes to one set of values and does another. And one who has not identified his values can show a little bit of immaturity as well. I'm not saying that you're immature if you don't know your values, but sometimes you are uncertain about certain decisions that you make. Might show a little bit of a immaturity of whether or not you truly value that particular thing. So what kind of goes under an idea of an immature value? What you're unclear about your values, you drift from back and forth, you're kind of flighty, you're uncertain, and you're apathetic. And those that are very mature in their values, they're very clear. They have very clear values, and life of a purpose, meaning that the particular value has a purpose and meaning and gives them direction in life. So direction, values, goals, behavior, self-value. Values give direction and consistency to your behavior. So every single time you say you go to a public restaurant and you fold your napkin on your lap and you chew with your mouth closed or things like that, you're exemplifying particular behaviors that you feel are important to exhibit in a public restaurant. And you're very consistent with that. Values help you know what to and not to make time for. So sometimes what happens is you decide to make time for one thing over another thing, and that really kind of defines your values. What values establish a relationship between you and the world. So when you go out, and again, I made this example earlier, and you meet particular people, you look at particular jobs, places of employment, you want to find people or places that kind of exhibit your values. And values set the direction for one's life. So where do we get our values? And this is what's, I think, the main part that we're really going to be studying a lot is, where do our values come from? Well, first off, our homes, our parents can be, and our relatives can be a great influence of what we value. Next, school. Every day you in front of the classroom, you are taught by a teacher, you hear the values of your peers, and you eventually incorporate those values onto your own. Society, friends, TV, of course, church, particular religions definitely give us a lot of our values. Music, books, families, culture, employers. And last, what this is basically saying is the time period in which we're raised in. All right, so people that were born in the 70s might value something that people that were born in the 80s or the 90s. So your age will greatly influence your values. Different people and things influence you at different ages. For instance, ages 1 through 7, you value your parents. I know my particular kids, since they hang out with us so much, they value us and they value our opinions. That 8 through 13, you start meeting teachers, you start to understand different heroes, like from sports or rock and roll bands, and they become, they can incorporate their values from those types of influences. 14 to 20, peers, of course, values because of the values of the peers, or peers because of the values. Meaning that, do you choose your peers because of what you value, or do your peers give you what you value? In ages 21 plus, your values are established, but you may test your values from time to time. Meaning, you might go ahead and put it under the litmus test. Hey, do I really believe this? Maybe when you're voting for a particular political candidate, you might start questioning your values. All right, so what is a value versus a fact? And it kind of goes down, values equals opinions, and facts are kind of facts. Values are things we feel, all right? So when anything goes under a feeling, that this usually goes towards your values. Next. Value, like for example, value. All people should, again, that keyword should, be active in a specific religion. Kind of gives you that, like, this is what I feel. Or the best time to buy clothing is when the price is discounted. Well, some people might disagree with that. A value is a statement of personal belief. And then what are facts? Facts are simply state what actually are. It is easy to confuse values with facts. Fact. Many people are active in a specific religion. Okay? Can't really dispute with that. The most economical time to buy clothing is when the season change and the price is reduced. All right, that is a direct observation. A fact is established by observation and things that we can measure. Values and behaviors. Well, happiness comes from letting values decide your behavior and goals. Sometimes we make particular decisions based on what is going to make us the most happy. And values can change over a lifetime as your experiences change and your view. So, like for instance, what I used to value in high school is way different than what I value now. Types of values: moral, material, aesthetic, intrinsic, extrinsic, universal American, and group-specific values. So, moral, meaning what you particularly find to be moral. Material, meaning materialism. Aesthetic, beauty. Intrinsic, internal, extrinsic, anything outside of yourself that can influence you. The American value, and group-specific values. It's not doing things that are right, but doing the right thing. So I hope this kind of helps give you a brief little overview of what our values, maybe starts questioning your own values, and we're going to be applying those to the literature we're going to be reading in class. Thanks.